Have you ever felt that something in your life is quietly wrong? Not a loud disaster, not something obvious, something subtle, something lingering, as if no matter how much you try, how many goals you set, how many promises you make, something pulls you back into the same old patterns, the same frustrations, the same silent defeats you can't explain. Maybe it's that sudden anger that explodes when you least expect it, or the voice that whispers just when you're about to succeed. You're not good enough. You never were. Maybe it's the envy you don't dare to admit, the one that gnaws at you when you see someone living the life you secretly wanted, or the fear that freezes you before every risk you dream of taking. You think these are accidents. You think it's just the way life is. But what you don't realize is that something deep inside you is orchestrating it all. There is a force operating in the shadows of your mind, a force you have spent your whole life ignoring, a force that never stopped acting. Carl Jung called it the shadow. It is not something outside of you. It is you, the parts you have buried, the desires you have rejected, the fears you pretend not to feel, the anger you learned was unacceptable, the sadness you were told was weak. You pushed them down. You looked away. But what you suppress does not die. It grows. And now, without your permission, it shapes your reactions. It whispers your decisions. It molds your life while you believe you're in control. Until you bring it into the light, the shadow will keep pulling the strings. And you will keep calling it fate. You were not born with a shadow. It was given to you, not through cruelty, not through fate, but through survival. The moment you entered the world, you were surrounded by invisible rules. Be good. Don't cry. Don't be angry. Don't be selfish. And because you needed love, because you needed safety, you obeyed. You smiled when you wanted to scream. You apologized when you hadn't done anything wrong. You buried the parts of yourself that seemed too wild, too loud, too unacceptable. Not because they were wrong, but because the world around you couldn't handle them. And so you made a trade, a terrible trade. You hid your anger. You strangled your sadness. You silenced your ambition, all to be seen as good. And what you pushed away didn't disappear. It drifted downward into a hidden place within you, the unconscious mind. And there it began to grow. This buried part of yourself, this collection of all your denied emotions, forbidden dreams, and suppressed instincts, became what Carl Jung called the shadow. It is not some distant evil. It is everything about you that you thought you had to kill to be loved. But you never killed it. You just stopped looking. The shadow watches from the darkness. It waits in the corners of your mind. Every fake smile fed it. Every swallowed word strengthened it. Every abandoned dream gave it more power. And over time, you didn't just hide your darkness from the world. You hid it from yourself. You forgot it was even there. But it never forgot you. It waits, not to destroy you, but to be recognized. Because what was once repressed will one day demand to be reckoned with. And if you do not face it willingly, it will erupt without your consent. You might think that because you don't see your shadow, it isn't there. That because you ignore the hidden parts of yourself, they somehow lose their power. But the truth is far more dangerous. What you deny controls you. The shadow operates silently, shaping your decisions from behind the curtain. It doesn't shout. It doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It moves in your fears. It acts through your anger. It clouds your judgments, then lets you believe the mistakes were your own. You think you're choosing your life freely, your career, your relationships, your habits. But often, it's the shadow pulling the strings. It decides that you will lash out at someone who loves you, just to prove you're unworthy. It convinces you to give up on your dream at the last second, to protect you from the terror of failure. It drives you to envy people you should admire, because part of you still believes you do not deserve what they have. The shadow doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about survival, keeping the exile intact, even if it costs you everything. You'll tell yourself that success is impossible, that love always fades, that life is meant to be a struggle. But those aren't truths. They are the shadow's lies, fed to you quietly over years, until they feel like your own voice. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. As long as you refuse to see your shadow, you will be trapped. You will relive the same patterns. You will sabotage your own victories. You will push away the very things you claim to want. And the worst part? You will think it's bad luck, or destiny, or other people. You will never realize it was you, all along, until the day you dare to look into the mirror and finally see the face staring back. If your life feels stuck, if you feel trapped in patterns you don't understand, it's not a coincidence. It's a sign that the shadow is no longer sleeping. It is moving quietly through every part of your life, and you may not even realize it. Have you ever reacted with anger that felt too big for the situation? Have you ever hated someone without really knowing why? Have you ever sabotaged your own success at the very last moment, and then told yourself it was just bad luck? These are not random accidents. These are footprints left by the shadow. It projects your buried fears onto others, making you despise in them what you cannot admit in yourself. It pushes you toward relationships that replay your deepest wounds, again and again, like a cruel echo from your past. It tricks you into clinging to safe but miserable routines, because true growth feels too dangerous. The shadow doesn't need your permission to act. It moves silently through your emotions, your choices, your perceptions of reality. It whispers doubts when you're on the edge of success. It fuels envy when you see someone living boldly. It ignites rage when something threatens the fragile image you built for survival. And all the while, it stays hidden, because if you cannot see it, you cannot fight it. You believe you are making free decisions. You believe you are simply unlucky, or weak, or cursed. You are none of those things. You are simply being ruled by a king you refuse to acknowledge. Jung said, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. The longer you deny your shadow, the more chaos it creates, until one day you look around at the wreckage of your dreams and realize it wasn't the world that destroyed them. It was the war you never saw raging inside yourself. There's a reason you sometimes hate people you barely know. And there's a reason certain personalities irritate you far more than they should. And it has nothing to do with them. It's your shadow, looking back at you through the mirror of another person. Jung called it projection, the unconscious act of throwing your unwanted parts onto someone else. You see a stranger's arrogance, but what you're really feeling is the confidence you were taught to suppress. You feel disgust toward someone's ambition, but it's your own buried hunger for success clawing to the surface. You accuse others of being selfish, or cruel, or fake, all the while blind to how those same traits live inside you, waiting for acknowledgement. Projection is the shadow's favorite trick. It keeps you busy blaming the world. It convinces you the enemy is always outside, never within. It feels righteous. It feels true. But it's a lie. Every time you react with disproportionate anger, every time someone stirs up an irrational hatred inside you, every time you can't explain why you're so bothered, The shadow is speaking, not to condemn you, not to shame you, but to show you the pieces of yourself you have locked away. The truth is brutal. The traits you attack most viciously in others are often the very traits you have abandoned inside yourself. This is why two people can meet the same person, and one feels admiration while the other feels disgust. It has nothing to do with the person. It has everything to do with the mirror they accidentally became. The longer you refuse to recognize your projections, the more your relationships suffer. You push away lovers who try to get too close. You resent friends who reflect your deepest dreams. You sabotage mentors who believe in the greatness you secretly fear, all because your shadow cannot bear to be seen, even when the whole world is trying to show it to you. To heal, you must learn to ask yourself in those moments of judgment, what is this reaction really trying to show me about myself? Because until you own what you see in others, you will never reclaim what you lost within. Have you ever wondered why? Just when you're about to succeed, something inside you pulls the brakes? Why at the edge of opportunity, you hesitate, you stumble, you invent reasons to retreat? It's not bad timing. It's not fate. It's your shadow, working from the inside to keep you small. The shadow is terrified of change. It was built to survive, to protect the fragile identity you created long ago to be accepted. Success threatens that identity. Love threatens it. Growth threatens it. Because growth means facing the parts of yourself you've spent a lifetime denying. And so, the shadow fights back. It whispers doubts into your mind. You're not ready. You're not good enough. Better play it safe. It makes you procrastinate when you need to act. It makes you pick fights with the people who believe in you. It makes you sabotage the very dreams you once begged the universe to grant, all without you realizing it. You blame exhaustion. You blame bad luck. You tell yourself the timing wasn't right. But deep down, you know, it wasn't the world that stopped you. It was fear. The fear planted long ago, when you first learned that standing out was dangerous, that wanting too much was shameful, that failure would cost you love. That ancient fear still holds the reins. You can see it in every unfinished project, every abandoned relationship, every opportunity you turned away from without understanding why. And the worst part? The shadow rewards itself for every failure. It tells you, see, I protected you. Nothing changed. You're still safe. Safe, but stuck. Safe, but slowly dying inside. Until the day you realize that the comfort zone your shadow built for you is nothing but a beautifully decorated prison. And if you want to be free, truly free, you must confront the fear that built it. You must see the self-sabotage for what it really is. Not weakness, not bad luck, but a silent cry for liberation from the parts of you still trapped in the past. Have you ever wondered why you seem to attract the same kinds of people over and over again? Why you keep finding yourself in relationships that drain you, hurt you, or make you feel invisible? It's not random. It's not just bad luck. It's your shadow, choosing for you. The wounds you refuse to heal, the parts of yourself you deny, create silent patterns that draw certain people into your life. If your shadow carries the pain of rejection, you will find yourself drawn to those who abandon you. If your shadow hides a buried rage, you will attract those who provoke it again and again. If your shadow is filled with unacknowledged insecurity, you will unconsciously seek out those who confirm it, who make you question your worth, who mirror back your deepest fears. These relationships feel strangely familiar, almost inevitable, because they are echoes, reverberations of the wounds you never faced. You aren't choosing them because you want to suffer. You are choosing them because some part of you is trying to recreate the original pain, hoping to finally heal it. But without awareness, the cycle repeats again and again and again. You think, this time it will be different. This person will love me the way I deserve. But if the wound remains unconscious, the pattern does not break. And the most dangerous part? The more familiar the pain feels, the more convincing it becomes that this is all you deserve. Until suffering feels normal. Until heartbreak feels inevitable. Until loneliness feels like home. But it isn't. It's the voice of the shadow, repeating old songs, writing the same tragedies. The truth is brutal, but freeing. Until you heal what's broken inside, you will keep finding people who fit the shape of your brokenness. The cycle will end only when you stop searching for someone to fix what you refuse to face within yourself. Freedom doesn't come from finding the right person. Freedom comes from becoming the person who no longer needs their pain to feel alive. There is a fear that runs deeper than failure, deeper than loneliness, deeper than pain. It's the fear of being truly seen. Have you ever felt paralyzed at the thought of speaking your mind? Have you ever hidden your dreams because you were afraid someone would laugh? Have you ever edited yourself, your words, your emotions, your passions, just to avoid standing out? That fear is the voice of your shadow. At some point, long ago, you learned that being fully yourself was dangerous. Maybe you were ridiculed for showing excitement. Maybe you were punished for showing anger. Maybe you were abandoned for showing need. And so you built walls, layer by layer, smile by fake smile. Walls to keep the shame out. But walls built for protection also become prisons. Today, the same instincts still govern you, even if you don't realize it. You hesitate to raise your hand. You avoid the spotlight. You hold your tongue when your soul is begging to speak. Not because you are weak, not because you lack ambition, but because your shadow still whispers. If they see the real you, they will reject you. The tragedy is not that others will judge you. The tragedy is that you have already judged yourself. You decided long ago which parts of you were unacceptable. You locked them away. You called it humility. You called it politeness. You called it being realistic. But it was fear. Fear disguised as virtue. And so you live cautiously, quietly, carefully, always one step away from the life you truly want. Always telling yourself, maybe someday, when I'm better, stronger, perfect. But there is no perfect. There is only now. There is only the courage to stand as you are. Messy, ambitious, angry, hopeful. And refuse to hide anymore. Because the cost of hiding is not safety. The cost is losing yourself. And the world does not need another perfect mask. The world needs the you buried long ago. You can pretend your shadow doesn't exist. You can distract yourself with work, with love, with dreams. You can smile. You can succeed. But the shadow waits. It waits when you are tired. It waits when you are alone. It waits when your defenses finally slip and the cracks begin to show. And when it does, it doesn't whisper anymore. It roars. The emotions you buried, the fears, the rage, the grief, come rushing back with a violence you no longer recognize. You find yourself snapping at those you love. You find yourself drowning in self-hatred after small mistakes. You find yourself sabotaging opportunities you once prayed for. And you won't understand why. You'll tell yourself it's just a rough patch, just bad luck, just life. But it isn't. It's every moment you chose to turn away, finally demanding to be seen. The more you repress your shadow, the stronger it grows. It gathers behind your smiles. It sharpens behind your politeness. It builds pressure in the hidden places of your mind, until one day, without warning, it explodes. Not in one great event, not with a sign in the sky, but slowly, quietly, catastrophically. You lose relationships without knowing how. You ruin them. You watch your dreams die because fear choked them in their infancy. You live a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. And worst of all, you forget that you ever wanted more. You convince yourself that this numbness, this smallness, this half-life was all you were ever meant to have. But it's not. The cost of ignoring your shadow is not just pain. It is the slow death of who you were meant to become. Not because the world stopped you, not because you weren't good enough, but because you surrendered the battle before it even began. And you may never even realize it until it's too late. You cannot fight your shadow with force. You cannot destroy it with discipline. You cannot outrun it with ambition. The only way to free yourself is to face it, to turn toward the darkness inside you, and look without fear. The first step is recognition. Every time anger flares without warning, every time envy twists your stomach, every time shame grips your throat, pause. Do not run. Do not blame. Do not pretend you are better than this. Instead, ask, what is this feeling trying to show me about myself? Behind every shadow emotion lies a buried truth, a piece of you that was exiled long ago. Maybe it's the voice that was silenced when you were told to be quiet. Maybe it's the ambition crushed when you were taught not to dream too big. Maybe it's the rage bottled up when you were punished for speaking your mind. These are not flaws. They are lost fragments of your soul, waiting for you to bring them home. The second step is permission. Give yourself permission to feel what you feel, without judgment, without shame. Anger can become strength. Fear can become wisdom. Desire can become creativity. What was once your prison can become your power, but only if you stop pretending you are already whole. Only if you admit, there are parts of me I do not yet understand. Healing is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real. You will not heal by building a better mask. You will heal by tearing the mask away and loving what you find underneath. And yes, it will hurt. The truth always hurts before it sets you free. But nothing hurts more than living your entire life afraid of yourself. Nothing is heavier than carrying a heart full of exiled dreams, abandoned hopes, silent rage. And nothing is more beautiful than reclaiming the pieces of yourself you thought were lost forever. Facing your shadow is simple to understand, but almost impossible to live. Because the moment you start, you realize something terrifying. You cannot blame anyone else anymore. You cannot blame your parents. You cannot blame society. You cannot blame luck, or fate, or cruel chance. You must sit with the truth. I have been a co-creator of my suffering. And that truth is almost unbearable. Most people, when they glimpse even a flicker of their shadow, turn away. They dive back into distractions. They hide behind busyness. They build new identities, new goals, new illusions, all to avoid the confrontation they fear most. They tell themselves, I'm fine. It's not that serious. It's just life. But deep down, they know. They can feel the cracks in the mask. They can hear the shadow whisper when the world goes silent. The reason so few ever integrate their shadow is not because it's too complicated. It's because it demands a courage most are never taught. It demands the courage to be wrong, to be messy, to be broken, It demands the humility to say, I am not who I thought I was, and that's okay. Most will never take that step. They will live and die trapped inside the identities they crafted to survive. They will fight the same battles, repeat the same mistakes, blame the same ghosts, all while the life they were meant to live fades quietly into what could have been. But you are standing at a crossroads. You have seen the shadow. You cannot unsee it. The question is no longer, will my shadow control me? The question is, will I have the courage to face it and finally set myself free? The journey is brutal. The journey is beautiful. The journey is necessary, because the cost of avoidance is your life, and the reward for your courage is your soul. At this point, you stand on the threshold of yourself. You can turn back, slip into the comforting numbness of distraction. Tell yourself the story the world loves to hear. I'm fine. Nothing needs to change. Or you can step forward, into the unknown, into the places inside you where fear still trembles, where anger still burns, where dreams you thought were dead still whisper your name. No one can take this step for you. No one can fight this battle on your behalf. Facing the shadow is a lonely path, but it is also the only honest one, because only by confronting your hidden self, not with hatred, but with compassion, can you finally become whole. You are not here to live half a life. You are not here to endlessly repeat old wounds. You are not here to shrink yourself into something small enough to be loved. You are here to become everything you are. The anger you feared, it can become your sword. The sadness you buried, it can become your depth. The ambition you repressed, it can become your fire. Every piece you abandoned was never meant to be destroyed. It was meant to be transformed. This is not about being perfect. It is not about being fearless. It is about being real, raw, messy, alive. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your unfinished self. And now you have a choice: to continue running, or to turn, face the darkness, and say with unshakable love, I see you. I welcome you. I will make us whole again. This journey will not make you invincible. It will not make you immune to pain, but it will make you free. And there is no greater treasure in this life than the freedom to live, not as a mask, not as a ghost, but as the full, blazing, undeniable truth of who you are. The shadow does not destroy you. Denial does. And today, you choose something greater. You choose yourself.